Hello, welcome to today's edition of Pegasus Test. On today's edition, we're covering the FTX of the spring One Shepherd semester in West Virginia. And we're starting off right with the Blue Force. While all the guys are getting ready, prepping their gear, the commanders are in getting their op order from their higher headquarters. Let's take a look.
The Bukhan to punish Namhan for their, for their violence against, the special agents and stuff like that. We've decided, hey, we're going to show them. But I think beyond that, we're trying to see, are they ready to really come and talk negotiation stuff? Because, we doubt their military. We doubt that their military resolve. And so this is a test of their military resolve. So we punched into this just a few weeks ago, just taking this area, and since then, international pressures and all this other stuff also made us very vulnerable sticking out here. We still claim this as ours, but we have fallen back to the area we are. And right now, by the way, what we have is we have up here, we've fallen back here, to really protect this region. But some of the more sympathetic farmers have mentioned that they have seen foot reconnaissance in the southern region, and we have in the last couple days seen drones. So the drones, we believe, or what we know, they're Namhan drones, military drones, and it looks like they may try to stick their toe back in the water. So in order to, and in fact, they may already be there, we suspect. They have reconnaissance teams in place. So at approximately 1300, we're going to truck assault you basically right down to that water well. We're going to truck assault you down to here, let you insert into the AO here, and conduct a movement to contact to try and, that your main target is people. We want you to sweep the southern area. If they're there, seek them out, destroy them, and push them back over the southern line, okay? And that is your mission, at least for the next 24 hours. Okay.
After they're receiving their order from their higher command, the PL, APL, and RTO went back to an area of privacy and prepared their own distinct op plan for the mission while their troops continued to get ready by packing their gear and camoing up.
Help me out. Is the other one.
Okay. The only concern here is we are not occupying a larger area than this, but our original mission is still sweep the entire southern part of the AO.
Who's our deep recon? Let's keep them the same as far as deep reconnaissance goes.
Yeah.
After the Blue 4 was given their mission orders and began their planning, the Op 4 got their mission orders from their higher headquarters, and then the PL came up with his plan and briefed his troops. After getting their operations order, the Op 4 went ahead, camoed up, geared up, did their PCIs, and made ready to move out to their area of operations. Once the Op 4 mission prep was complete, they loaded up in 2 lifts into the EM-50 assault vehicle and were transported out to their drop zone. After forming a 360 and the departure of the EM-50, the Op 4 then moved out and established its combat outpost. Now, I mentioned earlier in this video, this particular FTX was a joint operation between the One Shepherd Leadership Institute and several of the official county militias of Virginia. And these units were embedded together. The county militias were wearing the OCP uniform, while the One Shepherd Blue 4 was wearing M81 woodland camouflage. After moving out from their drop-off zone, the Blue 4 established a patrol base and began to set up their mobile defense. The rest of that day was fairly uneventful for the two patrols. They sent out reconnaissance patrols, even bumped into each other once in a while to get identification, but incredibly few shots fired, and nobody locking on a solid position of where their enemy was located. As an OC, I had to move into more administrative tasks to support the operation, as you'll see here. Okay, what we have here is a well. On the screen it looks like 3 5-gallon water cans, and in reality that's what it is. But to the patrols in the field, this is a well. These wells are fair game in the fact that either side can use them. This is not an out-of-bounds zone. They are not safe while they water. If they come in here, they need to treat it like a regular mission. So coming to the water well to retop off their water supplies could result in an ambush, and we all know how that can go. There are 2 of these here, out here. This is the northern point. This is at the location of the FOB at the fall semester of 2020 of Bravo Company. And for those of you that watched that video, I'll put a link in below. The southern well is down at the position we had the missile command vehicle in back in the fall 2020 semester. So there's 2 water points out there, and both sides have to plan accordingly in their use and when they send out watering parties. This should be interesting.
Okay, I'm in the CP. Behind it is the rear defensive position. And we have another one off to the side here. Up in this nastiness is another position. That rock outcropping has one. And just over at the edge of the tree line is the final one. It's a good patrol base with good 360 security. The problem these guys have is the enemy knows they're here. Patrol is en route. They've left the PB and they are conducting a fighting patrol to flush the enemy from their AO.
Well, the first day of the FTX was, as mentioned, much reconnaissance and little contact, and that same kind of set of activity went out through the night. My job on that first day, after setting up these wells and doing other administrative tasks, was to manage the white cell, and I monitored all the radio traffic all night long. The next morning I switched out with the OP4 OC, and from there began a very eventful day with the patrol commander of the OP4 deciding that he was going to move out with half his force, do a movement to contact to see if he could locate the enemy, leaving 2 of his other teams behind to defend his combat outpost. As you will see here in the upcoming events, it was a contact-filled day, and let's go through it. As soon as the OP4 came out of their patrol base, came right into a hasty ambush. And it was real hasty. In the after-action report after the FTX was over, the Blue 4 reported they were in the midst of setting up an LPOP, and the OP4 got right up on them. They didn't detect them. The Blue 4 fired right away, and they got 1 hit, and then the just through sheer firepower, the OP4, since they had more numbers, just overwhelmed the Blue 4 to a man and eliminated them, and then began to move out on their next part of the mission. The OP4 commander had terrain against him. While he had his combat outpost in an excellent defendable place, much of the terrain before him was open and with just fingers of trees to use for cover. The most densely forested section was the area he found himself most likely to make enemy contact, and he wanted to get in behind his enemy, so he took a bold and daring plan of moving through some fields that had just fingers of trees to provide cover. He did good tactics. He, after overcoming the hasty ambush, did a proper halt, reconsolidation, and then made a deliberate crossing across a road in an open area to his next covered and concealed position. After another SEALs halt, after the deliberate crossing that you just saw, the PL then decided he had to move across a very open area that was open to observation. Rather than sending his teams across 2 by 2 to possibly be picked off their enemy there, he went for the option of a mass crossing. Halfway through that mass deliberate crossing, it all went wrong. The enemy had an outpost in the barn. That was one of their defensive nodes in their mobile defense. And the guys in the barn, their aim was true. They started to pick off the OPFOR one by one, even though they went to ground with over 100 meters of separation. The mile system does work at range, despite what you may hear. And even in the prone, every time a head went up, these OPFOR guys were picked off one by one. They did attempt a withdrawal, but ultimately it was unsuccessful. Upon returning to their combat outpost, the wiped out patrol awaited their respawn time. But the Blue 4 was not sitting still. They had 2 distinct contacts. Specifically, they had lost an entire team, and then they had another team make contact with a large enemy force and defeat it. And the commander was able to extract where he could expect his enemy to be, and he made an attack towards the combat outpost. And it was an intense fight. He got into a big one, and the outpost was able to stand. They repelled the attack up to the point that the commander had to issue, of the Blue Fort, had to issue his withdrawal signals, which he did by flare and smoke. Unfortunately, just as he was in the withdrawal, the flare he launched started a small fire, which caused a StopX, but it really didn't affect the outcome, as by then the battle had been decided. After completion of the StopX, both sides had reset at that point. Their respawn times had come. They were completely full forces again, simulating reinforcement from their respective sides. And the the OPFOR commander decided it was time to take the fight to the enemy, and he planned a fight just after nightfall. He made his plans. He issued his orders to his troops. And then they moved out while the sun was going down to be in a position that when nightfall began, he'd be where he was ready to make contact with the enemy.
Skirt off and separating 2 teams right here. That's where we're going to be held up. Blah, 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 blah. The main body.
The force moved out in its entirety to begin the plan. There was a main body consisting of 2 squads, basically the Zulu squad and the headquarters, and the X-Ray and Yankee squads were deployed as vanguards. They moved up from the combat outpost to a series of structures that were about midway up the operating area. And the plan was for the main body to be in trail, the 2 vanguards out in front of the main body, and if they were to make contact prior to reaching this series of structures, they would develop the fight from there. What happened was they got to the structures, and one of the vanguards got a little off track. There was confusion about the comms. They thought they were compromised by the enemy. So there was much squabbling over coding, which caused about a 45-minute delay. Just as the OPFOR got itself sorted out and started to consolidate and get ready to move out on its mission, the Blue 4 started moving into it in its mobile defense program. So that means the squads were moving in a coordinated movement towards the OPFOR, but they were not directly connected to each other. The first Blue 4 squad came out of its node and was detected by the OPFOR in the open, and just as soon as they stepped clear of their cover, they were engaged by the OPFOR and eliminated pretty quickly. A most impressive sight because at night, in the dark, using nods with miles, kills were achieved quickly, including a headshot at about 150 meters.
In the tree line! Tree line! Tree line! Out in the field! Contact left! Get covered!
Don't forget that mag.
Don't get static! Right arm! Continue cover! Fire team leaders, get your people! Count! Breaking contact to me! Bounding! Bounding fire! To me! Keep falling to me! Hey, I need you to provide security that way until they get by. When you pass! Number. Give him a number. No, this way. People come behind us. Give him the number. 6! Stay with me. 6! Answer, you will be fired upon! 6! Dude, get in the bushes. Right here. Towards the shoot house. Go that direction. Stay behind me. Are you guys alive? Yeah. Pull back. Keep going to the tree line. Tree line right there. I'm gonna have to come back. My mag's bounced out of my dump pouch.
After wiping out the first enemy squad, the OPFOR consolidated, reorganized, moved off the structures and into a woodland next to a field. And there, the next part of the firefight began to develop.
I'm hearing beeps. CCP on me.
Of particular note in this segment, you will see the laser beams. Some of those are from IR emitters, but others, that's the mile systems firing. You can catch it under certain conditions in your nods and actually see the beam coming out. So you're seeing some of the near misses in this firefight.
CCP on me! Up for CCP on me!
This was a long-running firefight. This firefight ran so long, in fact, that both teams hit a respawn point during the firefight. What are the purpose of respawns? Well, that's to allow participants to get back in the fight. That doesn't happen in real life, but in the exercise, what it simulates is the arrival of reinforcements. So essentially, each one of these patrols were reinforced during this fight, which, like I said, made for an extended firefight. I think it lasted about 45 minutes in total, end to end.
Okay, you got some of them. CCP on me.
Both teams fought hard, and it was a hard-pitched battle. In the end, both had to retreat from the field and go back to their respective bases. The OPFOR had about 6 members of the patrol remaining alive after the second respawn, and at that point the PL decided to withdraw his remaining force and move back to his patrol base and wait for his respawn time to come before he attempted any other actions. When he got back to the patrol base, he essentially just prepared for a night defense and prepared to move out in the morning and take the fight to his enemy. As the OPFOR prepared to make a push against the Blue 4, the Blue 4 ended up having the exact same idea. The OPFOR got ready, and just as they were going to prepare to move out, the Blue 4 started to attack their combat outpost. The fight then began to rage back and forth, and at the end of the first fight, the Blue 4 had been eliminated down to a man, and the OPFOR was down to their last 4 fighters, just one fire team out of a 16-man patrol. The amazing thing about this fire team, it was the youngest members of the patrol. There were 2 teenagers that were 14-year-old and 2 16-year-olds, and one of the 14-year-olds had actually taken command. But the way this combat outpost was set up, they had pulled into their command post. Each one had taken a cardinal direction. They had a good reverse slope defense. Anybody who came over the top of the little lip that they had around their outpost got hit right away, and the final 4 were able to hold off until the last patrol had expended all their combat power. The Blue Force commander at that point then decided to pull back, await his respawn time, and reattack. Unfortunately for the Blue Force commander, his timing of his attack was intended to be at dawn, and logistical considerations and coordination caused it to actually be after dawn. So right after his first attack petered out, the OPFOR's respawn time occurred, and they were able to get back to full force. When the Blue Force respawn time occurred, they came and attacked again into an OPFOR that was fully manned, and at that point had pretty much repulsed the Blue 4 again. So the culmination of the battle was 2 back-to-back attacks on the combat outpost, and in each case the combat outpost held. It held the second time because it was technically reinforced, but nonetheless it did hold. We'd like to thank you for tuning in to today's edition of Pegasus Test. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and tune in for future coverage of One Shepherd events.